Hey folks, I'd like to continue with our terminology that's used in geometry. So we are discussing the concept of planes. If I have coplanar points, these are going to be points that lie on the same plane. Points that lie on the same plane. Just a side note on this, any three non-collinear points are always going to lie on the same plane. So if you look at your picture over to the right, it's pretty obvious that points D, E, and G are all on the same plane. But I'd like to point out that actually point D, point F, and point G, these are also on the same plane. Now, the plane is not drawn for you to see, but I want you to understand that there is still a plane that exists there, whether or not you can see it. So it's not just the one plane that has D, E, and G on it. Non-coplanar points, these are going to be points that don't lie on the same plane. So I could list the following 4 points. D, G, E. We already know those are on the same plane, but the minute I combine F with that, now these are 4 non-coplanar points. They do not lie on the same plane. Coplanar lines, these are going to be lines that lie on the same plane. A comment here, actually 2 comments. Any 2 intersecting lines are going to always lie on the same plane, and any 2 parallel lines will always lie on the same plane. We're going to talk here about intersecting lines next, and we'll talk about parallel lines here in just a moment. Intersecting lines, these are going to be lines that have exactly 1 point in common. So if you wanted to look at an example here, we could say that AD, this line, and AB, these are intersecting lines. Skew lines, first of all, these are lines that are not on the same plane, and secondly, they're lines that are never going to intersect each other. So if we're looking here at our picture again, you could say that line EH and line CD, these are going to be 2 lines. They're not on the same plane, and they will never run into each other. This is a little difficult to see while you're just looking at a piece of paper. So look at the room. If you're sitting in a room right now, look at the room around you. And maybe you could say that the bottom corner edge of that room, maybe to your left, and maybe the front ceiling edge, those 2 lines would never intersect each other. And those would be called skew lines. Next, concurrent lines. This is 2 or more lines that are going to intersect in exactly 1 point. So this may look something kind of like this, where all 3 of these lines meet in exactly 1 point. Parallel lines I've already mentioned, but I did not define it. These are lines, they must be coplanar, but they are coplanar lines that will never intersect each other. Intersecting planes, you can see a picture over here to the right. Intersecting planes are 2 planes that have 1 single line in common. One of the easiest ways to picture this is if you can imagine 2 walls meeting each other at the corner edge. Those would be intersecting planes, and they meet at that corner edge. Parallel planes, these are 2 planes that never intersect. This is going to be like your floor and your ceiling. A plane and a line are parallel to each other if they never intersect each other. So you can see the green plane over to the right and the line L that's up above the plane. These two are parallel to each other, but they're never going to intersect each other. A half plane, you remember we talked about a half line. A half plane is something that's a bit interesting. A half plane is a line that separates a plane into three subsets or three parts. One of those parts is the line itself, and the other two parts are the two half planes. So I've drawn a picture over here to the right. Let me kind of separate things so I can show you what I'm talking about here. Let's say that this right here is half of a plane, and then I have a line that is separating these two half planes from each other. And the other half plane would be this guy in here. So now if I could just pick these apart so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's part of my plane. Here's the line that separates the two. And then here's my other half plane. So that would kind of be what we're talking about, is that line splits the plane up into three pieces, the two half planes and the line itself.